What you're about to see is something Hollywood never expected. A live meltdown on national TV, a legendary actor pushed too far. In a moment so explosive that Jimmy Kimmel's entire studio froze in silence. Because when Sylvester Stallone was hit with one shocking question too many, he didn't argue, he didn't debate, he stood up and walked straight off the show live. And that walkout has now shaken Hollywood to its core. Asterisk, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. Asterisk. Nobody in the studio nor the millions watching at home had the slightest idea that the night was about to erupt into one of the most unforgettable moments ever seen on late night television. Jimmy Kimmel's show opened like any other episode. The lights blazed bright, the music thumped, and the crowd roared as the cameras swept across the studio. And then came the introduction everyone had been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Sylvester Stallone. The audience shot to their feet instantly. Some screamed, some whistled, some even held up old Rocky posters. Stallone walked out with that iconic, confident grin, shoulders back, signature swagger, giving small waves to fans as he shook Kimmel's hand and took his seat on the guest chair. But for those paying attention, something felt different. Stallone looked great, energetic, cheerful, yet there was a subtle tension hiding behind that smile. It was the kind of smile you give at a party you're not entirely sure you wanted to attend. A smile that covers something deeper. The interview started exactly how people expected. Stories about Rocky, jokes about Rambo, laughs about his early struggles. Stallone handled each question like the seasoned professional he is, adding humor, adding heart, even poking fun at himself. The crowd loved it. But then, halfway through the segment, Kimmel's tone changed. The laughter died down a little. Kimmel leaned forward. His jokes turned sharper. His questions grew more pointed. He started mentioning Stallone's past controversies, things the actor rarely talks about in public. Then he moved on to career declines, mocking some of Stallone's less successful films, even rolling short clips that made the crowd uncomfortable. Stallone gave a stiff smile. Not his usual smile, this one was forced. Still, he played along. At first, he laughed politely, nodded, tried to move the conversation somewhere lighter. But Kimmel wasn't stopping. Each question dug deeper, almost provoking him. People in the studio began shifting in their seats. Even the band fell silent, sensing the rising tension. Then, Kimmel pushed it too far. He played a clip from one of Stallone's recent series and laughed at it, suggesting it was trying too hard. He made a joke about Stallone's age, another about action stars not knowing when to retire. A small portion of the audience laughed awkwardly, and sure, if they were supposed to. Stallone's expression hardened. He folded his hands, leaned back. The smile was gone completely now. And then came the line, the question that changed everything. Jimmy Kimmel looked directly at Stallone and said, almost casually, "Do you ever look back and think, maybe you should have stopped making movies 20 years ago?" The entire studio gasped. Some covered their mouths. Some whispered, "No way." Stallone didn't blink. That he didn't laugh. He didn't smirk. He didn't shift. Instead, he slowly leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes locked onto Kimmel with a cold, sharp stare, one that instantly reminded fans of every intense scene Stallone had ever performed. The studio went dead silent. You could practically hear the cameras humming. Even Kimmel seemed unsure if he'd just crossed a line he couldn't walk back from. Stallone's jaw tightened. The tension in the room was almost physical, like electricity running through the air. Even at home, viewers felt the shift. Social media erupted instantly, with people typing, "What did Kimmel just say? Is this real or scripted?" Stallone looks pissed. Everything slowed down. Kimmel nervously fidgeted with his papers. The audience waited for Stallone's response. No jokes, no smiles, just raw, unfiltered emotion. And in that breathless moment, everyone understood, this was no longer an interview. This was the start of a Hollywood meltdown that nobody would ever forget. Stallone didn't explode. He didn't shout. He didn't even raise an eyebrow. He lowered his shoulders slightly, looked straight at Kimmel, and spoke in a voice so calm, it was unsettling. "I'm proud of my work. If you don't respect it, that's on you." The words weren't loud, but they carried weight, heavy, sharp, final. The audience stopped clapping. The staff backstage froze. Even people watching at home felt the shift through the screen. Jimmy Kimmel tried to laugh it off. He shrugged, forced a smile, and attempted one of his usual rescue lines, something about just teasing and all in good fun. But this wasn't one of those moments. Stallone's energy was different now. He wasn't in the mood to play comedy tennis. He wasn't giving Kimmel anything to bounce back. The band, usually quick with funny sound effects or background riffs, completely stopped. You could almost hear the drummer putting his sticks down. But Kimmel made the worst decision of the night. He doubled down. He leaned forward, trying to win back control, and said, "Well, come on, Sly. You gotta admit your recent stuff is a little dramatic. Some say you're out of touch, you know? Still trying to be the badass when maybe it's time to take it easy?" A few nervous laughs came from the audience, the kind of laughter people use to hide discomfort. But after that, silence. Heavy silence. Stallone stared at him. No smile, no expression. Just cold disappointment. Kimmel, sensing he wasn't getting the reaction he wanted, pushed even harder. He brought up Tulsa King. He joked about Stallone's emotional scenes in Creed 2, even mimicking one of them in an exaggerated voice. That was it. Everyone in the room felt it. The exact second Stallone's patience snapped. Stallone slowly pushed his chair back. The metal legs scraped lightly against the stage floor, a sound so small, yet so startling that half the audience flinched. He reached down, removed his mic pack with calm, steady hands, and placed it neatly on the table. Nothing rushed, nothing dramatic, but the serenity made it more dramatic. The studio audience fell completely silent. People were holding their breath. Camera operators froze, unsure whether to zoom in or cut away. Stallone stood up straight, tall, commanding, and looked around the studio, as if taking one final look at a place he no longer belonged. Then, in a loud, clear voice that echoed around the room, he said, "If this is the respect you show someone who's given their whole life to this industry, then I'm done." Gasps, whispers. A ripple of shock swept through the crowd, and without waiting for Kimmel's response, without giving the show a chance to recover, Stallone turned and walked right off the stage. Live. The studio was stunned. Kimmel's face went pale, not the funny, nervous pale, but the kind that comes when you realize the joke is over and you're the only one still laughing. He tried to crack a joke, something like "guess he's late for training," but the punchline fell flat. Completely dead. The audience didn't laugh. Some shook their heads. Some booed under their breath. Others started recording the chaos on their phones. The producer's voice came through Kimmel's earpiece, frantic and panicked. "Go to commercial now." The screen cut to an abrupt ad break, but the moment they went off air, all hell broke loose. Crew members ran backstage. Security was confused about whether to follow Stallone. The director was shouting instructions. Audience members were talking loudly, trying to understand what just happened. And outside the studio, Hollywood exploded. Within minutes, the clip was on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, shared, stitched, slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. Millions watched Stallone walk off in silence like it was a scene from a blockbuster movie. What started as an interview had turned into a historic meltdown, one that would dominate Hollywood conversations for days, weeks, and maybe even years. The instant the screen faded to commercial, chaos erupted not just inside the studio, but across the entire internet. Even before the first advertisement began to roll, half the audience had their phones out, recording, texting, posting. What happened in those 30 seconds would spread faster than anything the show had aired in years. Dozens of clips appeared online instantly. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Within minutes, Stallone's walkout had millions of views, and it wasn't even officially aired yet. People captioned it with things like, "Did Stallone just leave? Kimmel went too far. This is insane live TV meltdown." Meanwhile, backstage, it was absolute pandemonium. According to multiple crew members, Stallone's team was furious. They weren't shouting, but their faces said everything. They felt disrespected, blindsided, embarrassed for Stallone. One assistant tried to catch up to him, but Stallone kept walking, head down, focused, leaving a storm behind him. Rumors spread immediately. Some said Kimmel tried to apologize during the break. Others said he approached Stallone as he exited the stage. But eyewitnesses agreed on one thing: Stallone didn't even slow down. He walked straight past Kimmel, straight past the producers, straight toward the exit door, ignoring every attempt to stop him. For a man known for playing unbreakable characters, the seriousness on his face said more than any words could. Security didn't know what to do. Should they escort him? Stop him? Follow him? Nobody had instructions for legend storms off live TV set. Meanwhile, in the control room, the director was losing it. "We are live. We are live. What do we do?" he shouted, slamming his hand on the console. Producers scrambled to fill the time. They were flipping through cue cards, calling for alternate segments, trying to figure out if Stallone might come back. He wouldn't. And inside the studio, something unexpected happened. The audience, the same crowd who came for laughs and entertainment, suddenly turned into a chanting stadium. Stallone, stop. It shook the entire room. People started standing. Some booed Kimmel. Some yelled, "That wasn't cool, Jimmy." It was the kind of reaction you'd expect at a boxing match, not a late-night talk show. Jimmy Kimmel, normally sharp, confident, and quick with a joke, looked absolutely rattled. His face was pale. His smile was forced. He kept glancing backstage as if hoping someone would tell him this was all a prank, but nobody came. The countdown to return from commercials started. 5, 4, 3, 2. Kimmel straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and attempted to salvage the disaster. When the show returned, he launched into one of the most awkward monologues of his career, talking about technical difficulties, mixed signals, and miscommunication. But viewers weren't buying it for even a second. This wasn't technical. This wasn't miscommunication. This wasn't a scheduling error. This was a raw, unfiltered Hollywood meltdown caught live in front of millions. And as soon as the show resumed, social media went into overdrive. Fans dissected the moment frame by frame. Reaction channels started streaming instantly. News outlets began preparing headlines. Celebrities watching from home grabbed their phones and typed their thoughts faster than they ever had. In the span of just a few minutes, Stallone's walkout transformed from an awkward TV moment into one of the biggest Hollywood controversies of the year, and the night wasn't even close to over. If the walkout itself wasn't explosive enough, what happened next sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Within hours of the interview airing, reactions flooded the internet from every direction. Directors, athletes, critics, fans, even people who rarely comment on industry drama. It felt less like a controversy, and more like Hollywood choosing sides in a public battle. Dwayne Johnson. Respect the legends. The Rock was one of the first major names to react. He posted a short, powerful message on X, formerly Twitter. Respect the legends. You never know what battles they've fought. No names, no tags, but everyone knew exactly who he meant. Within minutes, the post hit 1 million likes. Fans flooded the comments. He's talking about Stallone. Rock stands with Sly. Kimmel messed with the wrong legend. Johnson and Stallone have worked together, respected each other publicly for years, and fans saw this as a major signal. The Rock was firmly on Stallone's side. Arnold Schwarzenegger treat him like an icon. Then came the reaction most people were waiting for. Stallone's longtime friend, rival, and fellow action superstar, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But in an interview recorded the next morning, a reporter casually asked Arnold about the incident. He didn't hesitate. Stallone deserves better. He's an icon. Treat him like one. That single sentence lit the internet on fire. Clips were reposted everywhere. People captioned it, "The GOAT defends the GOAT." For decades, fans have loved the friendly rivalry between Arnold and Stallone. But in moments like this, the respect between them shines brighter than any old competition. Fans of Rocky and Rambo, legends don't retire. And then, the fanbase arrived. The Rocky community, the Rambo fans, the millions who grew up watching Stallone fight, run, bleed, survive, and inspired. They came out swinging. People posted iconic scenes from Rocky II, First Blood, Creed II, Tulsa King, and countless behind-the-scenes clips of Stallone training or motivating his cast. One phrase kept appearing everywhere: legends don't retire, they evolve. It became a hashtag. It became a trend. It became the unofficial slogan of the entire controversy. Within hours, hashtag #StandWithStallone began trending globally. Entertainment critics, a divided camp. The critics, however, were split down the middle. A few defended Kimmel, saying talk shows are unpredictable. Stallone is too sensitive. He should have expected jokes. But those voices were drowned out almost instantly. Most critics didn't hold back. They called Kimmel's questions unprofessional, cheap shots, comedy that crossed the line. One critic's post went viral. Kimmel poked the lion and then acted surprised when it roared. People shared it thousands of times. Memes were made. Reaction videos popped up everywhere. Kimmel, who usually enjoys being the center of jokes, suddenly found himself the target of them. Meanwhile, Stallone remained silent while the entire internet screamed, debated, defended, attacked, and created theories. Sylvester Stallone said nothing. No posts, no interviews, no press statements, no comments. Just silence. And that silence, it poured fuel on the fire. The absence of Stallone's voice made the story even bigger, even more mysterious. Fans kept asking, is he okay? Is he angry? Will he respond? Why isn't he saying anything? Every hour he remained quiet. The intensity grew. News channels covered it nonstop. Talk shows brought in analysts to break down the walkout. Celebrities kept weighing in. Hollywood wasn't just reacting. Hollywood was dividing, and all eyes were waiting to see what Stallone would do next. Because when a legend stays silent, the world listens even harder. The next morning, Hollywood didn't just wake up, it jolted awake. Every major network, podcast, entertainment blog, and reaction channel had already grabbed the clip of Stallone walking out of Jimmy Kimmel Live and blasted it everywhere. It wasn't just a moment anymore. It had become the moment. The kind that gets replayed for years. Studied, meme-feed, defended, attacked like a piece of modern Hollywood history unfolding in real time. Talk show panels broke it down frame by frame. News anchors debated whether Stallone overreacted or whether Kimmel crossed a line. YouTubers analyzed Stallone's expressions like they were decoding hidden clues in a thriller. Even sports analysts weighed in, comparing the tension to a heavyweight title fight. By noon, hashtags were trending worldwide. Hashtag Stallone walkout, hashtag respect the legend, hashtag Kimmel crossed the line. Kimmel, single quotes S team. Feeling the pressure, attempted damage control, they released a short statement calling the moment misunderstood humor, hoping to calm the storm. But fans weren't buying a single word of it. The tone was wrong. Too cold, too corporate, too late. Rumors leaked from inside ABC studios that executives were pushing Kimmel to apologize publicly, sincerely, and fast. They feared the backlash could dent the show's ratings, especially with Stallone's massive global fanbase turning the incident into a moral battle, respect versus mockery, legacy versus cheap jokes. And while Hollywood was on fire, Sylvester Stallone himself stayed silent. No tweets, no interviews, no press statements. Just silence, heavy, intentional, powerful, the kind of silence only someone who has lived through decades of criticism, comebacks, heartbreaks, and victories can choose so deliberately that silence made everything louder. Behind the scenes, sources close to Stallone revealed he wasn't boiling with anger, he was bruised emotionally. After everything he had survived in Hollywood, being rejected, doing dozens of rewrites, risking his entire life savings for Rocky, taking hits from critics year after year, being mocked on national television, felt personal. It touched something deeper than the joke itself. He wasn't mad, one insider said. He was hurt, really hurt. Producers reportedly reached out with multiple apology requests, trying to mediate, but Stallone declined quietly, firmly, gracefully. He didn't want drama. He didn't want a feud. He simply didn't want to be part of something that disrespected the journey he had fought so hard to build. Then, hours later, the entire narrative flipped. Stallone finally broke his silence. He posted a single photo on Instagram, him training in a dimly lit gym, sweat on his shoulders, fists wrapped, eyes focused like a soldier preparing for another round. His caption was simple, but powerful enough to shake Hollywood. In life, some walk away from a fight, others walk away to stay true to themselves. That was it. No names, no blame, no anger. Just pure Stallone philosophizing strength, dignity, character. The world exploded. Celebrities reposted it. Athletes praised it. Fans flooded his comments with love, support, respect. Within minutes, the post hit millions of likes, and suddenly, the narrative shifted. This wasn't an actor storming off a talk show. This was a legend protecting his legacy. Whether Stallone ever returns to Kimmel's show or not, whether they eventually reconcile or let the moment stand untouched, one truth became undeniable. Stallone didn't lose anything. He gained even more respect. He reminded the world who he has always been, a fighter, a survivor, a man who climbed from nothing to become one of Hollywood's greatest icons. And once again, without throwing a punch or raising his voice, Stallone proved that even after nearly 50 years in the spotlight, he still knows exactly when to stand tall and when to walk out like a champion.